You were never taught this. Nobody sat you down. Nobody explained it. They taught you math. They taught you history. They taught you how to be polite, how to share, how to shrink yourself just enough to fit into rooms that were never built for you. But loving yourself, that lesson never came. And so you learned something else instead. You learned to look outward, to measure your worth by someone else's reaction, to shrink when you should have stood, to stay when everything inside you whispered, leave, to hand your self-respect to people who never asked for it and wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. It became a habit, then a pattern, then a life. Here's what nobody tells you. The loneliest place you will ever stand is inside a version of yourself you built for other people's approval. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus, born a slave, understood freedom more deeply than most kings. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself, not master of his circumstances, not master of other people's opinions, master of himself." That's the work. This isn't a video about self-care routines or morning affirmations. This is about something older and harder and more important than any of that. This is about coming home to yourself and never leaving again. If that hits something in you, if some part of you knows it's time, type "I choose me" below. 3 words. That's where it starts. Let's start with the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. Most people walking this earth do not love themselves. Not really. They might say they do. They might have the journal, the gym membership, the vision board on the wall. But underneath all of that is a quiet, persistent voice that tells them they're not quite enough. Not smart enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not there yet, wherever there is supposed to be. And here's the painful part. Most people don't even realize this is happening, because when you've spent your entire life outsourcing your sense of worth to the world around you, it stops feeling like a wound. It just feels like normal. You refresh the notification. You wait for the text back. You say yes when you mean no, because somewhere deep down you've decided that keeping the peace is safer than keeping your integrity. You dim yourself in rooms where you should be shining. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You rehearse conversations in your head, rewriting what you said, terrified that you came across wrong, terrified that someone, somewhere, thinks less of you. Sound familiar? This is what the absence of self-love actually looks like. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up wearing a sign. It whispers. It operates quietly, systematically in the background of your daily choices, shaping who you spend time with, what you tolerate, how you speak to yourself at 2 in the morning when the world is quiet and there's no one left to perform for. Seneca wrote in his letters, "Recede in te ipse," retire into yourself. He wasn't talking about isolation. He was talking about knowing who you are when no one is watching. Most people never find out, because most people have never stopped performing long enough to meet themselves. Think about the relationships in your life, the friendships where you do most of the giving, the romantic partnerships where your needs always seem to come last, the family dynamics where you've been cast in a role you never auditioned for, the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who holds everything together while quietly falling apart. You accepted these roles not because they were right for you, but because some part of you believed this was the price of belonging, that love had to be earned, that your presence alone was never quite enough. Where did that belief come from? For most people, it started early. A parent who made love conditional, a teacher who made you feel small, a group of peers who made belonging feel like a performance you had to perfect. Over time, these experiences didn't just affect you, they defined you. They wired a belief system into your nervous system. that you are only as worthy as your usefulness to others. That love is a transaction, that your value is determined by what you produce, what you provide, or how well you manage to avoid disappointing the people around you. The Stoics had a word for this kind of life. They called it living according to opinion and doxa, the total opposite of living according to reason. Epictetus was relentless on this point. He watched the powerful men of Rome, senators, generals, emperors, and saw that many of them were the least free people in the world, not because of external chains, but because their entire sense of self rose and fell with public perception. He saw men destroy their integrity for applause. He saw them betray their own values for acceptance. He said it plainly: a man who needs the approval of others has already surrendered his freedom. He was right then. He's right now. Because here's what nobody wants to say out loud. When you don't love yourself, you don't just hurt yourself. You hurt everyone around you. You attract relationships built on imbalance. You give from an empty cup and then resent the people drinking from it. You make decisions from fear instead of values. You stay too long in situations that are slowly eroding you because the terror of being alone feels worse than the certainty of being diminished. And the world, and the people in it who don't have your best interests at heart, will take full advantage of that. This is the wound, quiet, chronic, and completely treatable. But first, you have to see it clearly, not with shame, with honesty, because you cannot heal what you refuse to name. Let's go deeper, because naming the wound is one thing. Understanding what it's been costing you every single day is another. When you abandon yourself, you don't just lose yourself, you lose your time, your energy, your direction, your standards, your voice. And the terrifying thing is that it happens so gradually, so naturally, that most people don't feel the loss until they're standing in the middle of a life that looks perfectly reasonable from the outside and feels completely hollow on the inside. Think about the energy you spend managing other people's emotions, the mental gymnastics you perform before sending a text, trying to predict how it will land, the way you brace yourself before expressing an opinion, already preparing the apology in case someone disagrees, the hours you spend replaying conversations, rearranging your words after the fact, wishing you'd been more agreeable, more palatable, more easy. That energy is not free. It is costing you something real. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He understood that your inner world is your actual life, not your circumstances, not your reputation, not what other people think of you in a given moment. Your thoughts, your interior. And when you spend the majority of your interior life managing external perception, you are spending your most valuable currency on something that will never make you rich. Think about the relationships, not just the obviously toxic ones, the dramatic ones, the explosive ones, the ones you can clearly identify as bad. Think about the subtle ones. The friend who only calls when they need something, the partner who makes you feel lucky to be chosen rather than genuinely seen, the colleague who takes credit quietly and gives criticism loudly, the family member who has perfected the art of making you feel guilty for having needs at all. You kept these people close, not because they were good for you, but because somewhere along the way you decided that your standards were negotiable, that asking for more was asking for too much, that the discomfort of staying was more manageable than the fear of leaving. And so you stayed, and you adapted, and you slowly, almost imperceptibly, made yourself smaller. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Most people skip the first part entirely. They never decide what they would be. They just respond to demands, to expectations, to whoever is pulling the hardest. They shape themselves around the needs of the room and then wonder why they feel invisible in it. This is what people-pleasing really is. It is not kindness. Kindness comes from abundance. People-pleasing comes from fear. The fear that your authentic self is not enough to be loved, so you replace it with a version that is easier, more convenient, more palatable. And the tragedy is that the very love you're chasing, real love, deep love, love that sees you and chooses you anyway, can never find you because you've hidden yourself too well. And then there is the inner critic, that voice. You know the one that arrives uninvited in the quiet moments. The one that replays your mistakes in high definition while blurring every success you've ever had. The one that measures your life against everyone else's highlight reel and finds you lacking. The one that tells you you're too much and not enough simultaneously. A contradiction so exhausting that most people just go numb to it. That voice is not the truth. But when you've spent years without a strong, loving relationship with yourself, that voice becomes the loudest thing in the room. It fills the space that self-respect was supposed to occupy. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He saw it in his time, people torturing themselves with invented fears, invented failures, invented inadequacies. Sound familiar? The story you tell yourself about who you are is almost always harsher than the reality. The judgments you imagine others making about you are almost always louder than the ones they're actually making. You have built a courtroom inside your own mind, appointed yourself both prosecutor and defendant, and scheduled a trial that never, ever ends. And what about the big picture? What does a life without self-love actually look like over time? It looks like a career chosen to impress people who don't care. It looks like a relationship stayed in too long because leaving felt like failure. It looks like dreams quietly shelved because someone once said you weren't the type. It looks like decades of performing a version of yourself that was designed for approval rather than fulfillment, and then arriving at some quiet Tuesday in middle age with the unsettling realization that you've been a guest in your own life. That is the real cost. Not just the energy, not just the relationships, not just the inner dialogue that won't quiet down. The real cost is the life you didn't live because you were too busy making yourself acceptable to people who may not even remember your name in 10 years. Marcus Aurelius asked himself this question regularly. Is this action worthy of my nature? Not, will this impress someone? Not, will this make me look good? Not, will this make them like me? But, is this worthy of who I actually am? Most people have never asked themselves that question, because to ask it honestly, you have to first believe that you have a nature worth honoring. You have to believe that your values matter, that your needs are real, that your presence in this world is not a burden to be apologized for, but a force to be reckoned with. And that belief is exactly what a lack of self-love has stolen from you. The good news? It was never gone. It was only buried, and everything that can be buried can be found again. It's time to start digging. Here is where everything changes. Not because I'm about to hand you a list of affirmations, not because there's a morning routine waiting at the end of this segment that will fix everything, but because the Stoics, men who lived through slavery, exile, war, and empire, left us something more useful than motivation. They left us a framework, a way of seeing yourself and your life that once adopted becomes nearly impossible to abandon. And the first thing that framework requires is a distinction. Epictetus built his entire philosophy around one idea, the dichotomy of control. There are things within your power, your thoughts, your judgments, your responses, your values, your choices. And there are things outside your power, other people's opinions, their behavior, external events, circumstances you didn't choose. Most people spend their entire lives pouring energy into the second category while neglecting the first entirely, and then they wonder why they feel powerless. Self-love, in Stoic terms, begins the moment you stop trying to control what others think of you and start taking radical responsibility for what you think of yourself. That's not a small shift. That is a complete reorientation of your entire inner life. Think about what it would mean to genuinely internalize that. To wake up in the morning and know, not hope, not wish, but know, that your worth is not determined by the number of likes on a post, or whether your ex has moved on, or whether your boss acknowledged your work, or whether someone you admire has noticed you. To know that none of those things add to or subtract from who you are at your core. That is not arrogance. That is the most rational position a human being can take. Seneca wrote, "Nusquam est qui ubique est." One who is everywhere is nowhere. He was writing about people who scatter themselves across 1,000 external concerns and arrive at the end of each day having never once come home to themselves. Sound familiar? Presence, real, rooted, self-directed presence, is the antidote. And presence begins with turning the gaze inward. Now let's talk about the inner critic, because the Stoics had a direct answer for it. Marcus Aurelius spent years in his private journals, the Meditations, doing something remarkable, talking himself back to reason, not performing wisdom for an audience, not crafting philosophy for posterity, just a man alone with his thoughts, catching himself when he drifted toward resentment or self-pity or fear, and gently, firmly redirecting himself toward virtue. He wrote things like, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't immune to self-doubt. He wasn't above the noise. He simply refused to let the noise govern him. Your inner critic is not the truth. It is a habit, a deeply grooved neural pattern built from years of absorbing other people's judgments and internalizing them as your own. The Stoic practice of examining your impressions, a core daily discipline, is simply the act of pausing before accepting a thought as fact and asking, is this actually true? Is this within my control? Is this thought worthy of my reason? When the critic says, "You're not good enough," the Stoic response is not to argue back with forced positivity. It is to examine the claim. Good enough for what? By whose standard? Based on what evidence? And most importantly, does agreeing with this thought serve my highest values, or does it diminish them? 9 times out of 10, the inner critic is not speaking from reason, it is speaking from fear. And fear, the Stoics taught, is almost always about things that lie outside the circle of your control. Now let's talk about the people in your life, because this is where Stoic self-love gets genuinely revolutionary. The Stoics were not antisocial. They believed deeply in community, in friendship, in love. But they drew a sharp and clear distinction between relationships that nourish your highest self and relationships built on imbalance, transaction, or fear. Epictetus was blunt about this. The people you spend time with shape the quality of your inner life, not because they have power over you, but because you give them power through your attention and your energy. Setting boundaries, in Stoic terms, is not a rejection of other people. It is an act of self-respect, a declaration that your inner world, your peace, your values, your energy are sacred. They are not up for negotiation. They are not rewards for being easy to deal with. They are yours, and protecting them is not selfishness. It is philosophy in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you, that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Read that again. Nothing, no relationship, no approval, no sense of belonging is worth your self-respect. The moment you compromise who you are to maintain someone else's comfort, you have not kept the relationship. You have lost yourself. And a self lost is a self that cannot love or be loved fully. This is the Stoic foundation. Not soft, not sentimental, not the kind of self-love that gets sold in pastel fonts on social media. This is the hard, clear, luminous truth that the ancient world worked out through suffering and philosophy and years of rigorous self-examination. You are the only constant in your life. Every relationship, every role, every circumstance will change, but you, your reasoning mind, your values, your capacity for virtue, that is yours. Permanent, inalienable, worth protecting with everything you have. Build there, start there, root yourself there, and everything else, the relationships, the confidence, the boundaries, the peace, will grow from that foundation naturally. Philosophy without practice is just poetry. Beautiful, maybe, inspiring, certainly. But the Stoics were not interested in beautiful ideas that stayed ideas. They were interested in lived philosophy, wisdom that changed the way you actually moved through your day, made decisions, treated yourself, and built your life. So let's get practical. The path back to yourself is not a dramatic, singular moment of transformation. It is a series of small, deliberate, daily choices that compound over time into something unrecognizable and unmistakable. It is the accumulation of 100 quiet decisions to choose yourself, and it begins not with grand gestures, but with the most ordinary act imaginable, telling the truth. Start with your no. Most people treat no like a grenade, something dangerous, destructive, to be avoided at all costs. But the Stoics understood something essential. Every yes you give to something that violates your values is a no to yourself. Every time you agree to something out of guilt or fear, or the desperate need to be liked, you make a small withdrawal from the account of your self-respect, and accounts that are only ever withdrawn from eventually run dry. Saying no, calmly, clearly, without excessive apology or explanation, is an act of self-love. It is a declaration that your time, your energy, and your peace of mind are real things with real value. You do not owe the world unlimited access to yourself. You owe yourself the protection of your own inner life. Practice it in small ways first. The invitation you attend out of obligation when you desperately need rest. The favor asked of you by someone who has never once returned one. The conversation that leaves you feeling drained every single time. Start there. Say no. Notice what happens in your body when you do. That relief you feel, that's not guilt. That's your nervous system recognizing the truth. Next, learn to enjoy your own company. This one is harder than it sounds, and the Stoics knew it. Seneca wrote, "Retire into yourself as much as possible." He wasn't prescribing loneliness. He was prescribing sovereignty. The ability to sit with yourself without reaching for distraction, without needing noise or approval or the presence of someone else to feel like your existence is justified. That is a form of freedom that most people never experience. If you cannot enjoy your own company, you will always be vulnerable to bad company. You will accept relationships and situations that are beneath you simply because the alternative, your own quiet presence, feels unbearable. The person who is comfortable alone is never desperate, and a person who is never desperate makes infinitely better choices about who they let close. Start small. Take yourself on a walk without headphones. Sit with a coffee and a notebook and no agenda. Spend a Saturday doing exactly what you want to do without consulting anyone else's preferences. These aren't small things. These are the acts of a person who is actively choosing their own company and finding it worthy. Now, forgive yourself and mean it. The Stoics were uncompromising about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the Meditations again and again about the practice of beginning again, not wallowing in past error, not performing elaborate self-punishment, but examining what happened, extracting the lesson, and returning to virtue without drama. He called this the discipline of assent, the choice to accept what has occurred, learn what is useful, and move forward without carrying the weight of it indefinitely. You have made mistakes. You have stayed too long, trusted too easily, given too much, asked for too little, spoken when you should have been silent, stayed silent when you should have spoken. So has every human being who has ever lived, including the greatest Stoic philosophers. The question is never, did you fail? The question is always, what will you do with the failure? Self-forgiveness is not excusing yourself. It is refusing to let the past have more authority over your present than your present values do. It is choosing with full consciousness to be the person you want to be, starting now, not after sufficient punishment. Then comes the confidence, and here the Stoics offer something quietly revolutionary. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for, it is a practice you build. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Confidence follows action, not the other way around. You do not wait until you feel ready to make the brave choice. You make the brave choice and discover, on the other side of it, that you were readier than you thought. You do not wait until you feel worthy of love before loving yourself. You treat yourself with love and watch your sense of worth slowly recalibrate to match it. This is the compounding effect of self-respect in action. Every boundary you hold builds trust with yourself. Every promise you keep to yourself builds integrity with yourself. Every time you choose your well-being over someone else's momentary approval, you send a message to your own nervous system. I can be trusted, I matter, I am safe in my own hands. Over time, that message becomes the foundation you stand on. And then, perhaps most importantly, practice gratitude, not the performative kind, not the list-making kind that starts to feel like homework, the real kind. The Stoics practiced something called negative visualization, deliberately imagining the loss of what you have in order to truly appreciate its presence. Apply this to yourself. Who would you be without your particular brand of resilience, without the specific way you see the world, without the capacity for feeling deeply that has sometimes been your greatest vulnerability and is also your greatest strength? You are not a problem to be solved. You are a person to be known. Start knowing yourself with curiosity, with patience, with the kind of warmth you'd extend to someone you deeply love. Because you are someone you should deeply love. There is a version of your life waiting on the other side of this work. Not a perfect life, not a life free of difficulty or loss, or the complicated human things that no philosophy fully immunizes you against. But a life that is yours. A life lived from the inside out rather than the outside in. A life in which you wake up and your first thought is not, what does everyone need from me today, but who am I choosing to be today? That distinction, small as it sounds, changes everything. When you love yourself, you stop settling, not dramatically, not in a blaze of righteous anger, but quietly, clearly, with the kind of calm authority that comes from knowing your own worth. You simply stop agreeing to things that diminish you. You stop performing for rooms that were never built for you. You stop handing your peace to people who treat it carelessly. And the extraordinary thing? The right people notice. The right relationships find you. Not because you became more impressive or more palatable or more anything, but because you finally became more you. And there is nothing more magnetic in this world than a person who is fully, unapologetically, peacefully themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." There is a version of this for each of us. Waste no more time debating whether you deserve to be loved, whether you're ready to put yourself first, whether the timing is right, whether you've done enough work, earned enough grace, suffered sufficiently for the transformation to be justified. It's justified. It has always been justified. The Stoics did not believe in waiting for the perfect moment to begin living virtuously. They believed that virtue, including the virtue of treating yourself with the dignity you were born deserving, begins now, in this breath, with this choice. Not after the weight is lost, the relationship is healed, the career is sorted, the past is fully processed. Now. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom is not a destination you arrive at. It is a daily practice. It is choosing again and again to govern your inner world with wisdom rather than fear, to measure your choices against your values rather than the temperature of the room, to be, as Seneca would say, everywhere and nowhere, present, rooted and sovereign. This is the life that waits. A life where solitude is not loneliness, it is replenishment. Where no is not rejection, it is redirection. Where self-care is not indulgence, it is maintenance of the most important relationship you will ever have. Where your inner critic becomes over time a quieter voice, not silenced entirely, but no longer the loudest thing in the room. Where the need for external validation slowly, gradually, beautifully dissolves, replaced by something steadier, something internal, something that no one can give you and no one can take away. That is not ego, that is not arrogance, that is not selfishness dressed up in philosophy. That is freedom. And you don't build it all at once. You build it the way the Stoics taught, one choice, one day, one honest self-examination at a time. You catch yourself shrinking and you choose to stand. You catch yourself apologizing for your needs and you choose to name them clearly instead. You catch yourself waiting for permission to be fully who you are and you choose, firmly, lovingly, without waiting for anyone's approval, to simply be. The world will adjust. It always does when a person decides, truly decides, that they are worth the life they're living. You are. You always were. Now act like it. If you're done shrinking, done performing, done handing your peace to people who never deserved it, leave a comment below. I am enough. Say it here first, then go live it. Subscribe to the Stoic Mode and hit the notification bell, because what we're building here isn't just content. It's a philosophy for people who are serious about their freedom. Thank you for watching. The Stoics didn't wait for permission to live well. Neither should you.